Chasing happiness is like chasing a skirt. Now, the only problem with that is if you are a walking, breathing skirt repellent. Hey guys, my name is Ab and welcome to my new channel, Abnormal. I've got a few reasons for starting this channel along with a few confessions that I shall leave towards the end of the video for the two of you all that are still watching. So let's get to it. It's my circumstances. I feel stressed out, I feel frustrated, I feel insecure as a result of it, I feel inadequate, lonely quite often, and unappreciated in general. And when all of that happens, there are moments where I feel absolute rage. I start to get jealous. I'm afraid of failure, even afraid to try, and that all just adds up to a shitload of guilt. Now, those generally are the emotions or states that drive me into feeling unhappy. Now, unhappiness might be an emotion, might be a state. I don't want to get into the jargon of it, but it's all usually driven and fueled by our thoughts, if we really get down to it. Now, the thing with thoughts though is they're sneaky little cunts, as I'm sure a lot of y'all can agree. It's here 1 minute and it's there the next. So fortunately, there are a few things, well, at least I'd like to hope there are a few things we can do to affect our state, affect our thoughts, ostracize a lot of those negative emotions for at least a lot of the time, more so than now at least. These are a few tips that I personally find to help me quite a great deal. They keep me more balanced. Obviously, the more consistently I practice them, the better it works. And guys, at the end of the day, all said and done, we are human beings. We are meant to falter. We will falter. So as long as we try, we're better off than most. Alright, so let's get right to it. Tip number 1. A lot of our angst and unhappiness comes from our environments and the actions of the people around us, whether they were deliberate choices or unconscious decisions made along the way. And these may be your friends or your family, or things that we do ourselves knowing that we'll come to regret them. After all, we are a generation that thrives off instant gratification. Now, with our social media, our celebrities, our trends, the cool hangouts, what happens invariably with time though is they drain your soul now. They really drain your soul. They make you feel worthless. They make you, at worst, feel completely off balance. But if we were to diligently eliminate these factors, not only would it save you all that unwarranted negativity, it would also greatly allow you the time that you need and the balance, the groundedness you need to find yourself. Tip number 2. On to tip number 2, was it? Yeah. Gratitude and forgiveness. Now, these are super simple to do. These are things that are at your own disposal at any point of time, right? Being grateful for what you have, like the fresh air that you're breathing, the food that's been keeping you alive, grateful for all the serendipitous events that have kept you out of trouble when you were that close to getting screwed over. Being grateful for things I feel has maybe not so much in a situation where you are completely off balance, but it allows you a little bit of relief just knowing that things are going to be okay. They have been okay this far, they will somehow continue to be okay in the future. Gratitude. And it makes you feel good when you actually think about it and focus on just what you're grateful for without. It takes practice, I'm still working on it. But yeah, gratitude. And forgiveness kind of plays hand in hand with it, that's why it's a part of this tip. Because sometimes it's hard to feel grateful when you just come out of an encounter that has left you bitter, right? So forgiveness would help with that, but there are two sides to this. There are cases where you might want to forgive an individual, knowing that they didn't know any better and understanding where they came from, or knowing that the circumstances did not allow for things to go another way, even, I don't know, right? But maybe going and talking to them about it, or going a little deeper and thinking about what led to those situations might help you to forgive a little better. The most effective way I found is actually going and confronting the person, if that is an option, right? Another way of doing it is having a conversation with yourself as if you were in that person's shoes, from your understanding of their mindset and where they come from. You could delete them from your life. That's been very cathartic for me. Say there was a certain bunch of things an individual did, writing it down. This was something I saw elsewhere as well. This is stuff that I've read somewhere earlier, and I've tried it myself, and it actually makes you feel a whole lot better. Writing it down, burning it, once you're done, it feels as if you've let a load off your chest. You genuinely feel lighter. It's because the whole process of sitting down and actively releasing those negative emotions, you might cry, you might get pissed off, but make sure you finish doing it and getting rid of it. You could burn the piece of paper, you could burn pictures, you could, not to get too aggressive with it, but it helps me at least. So these are my personal tips after all. So moving on to personal tip number 3. Tip number 3 would be presence. This sort of moves on from the previous point on gratitude and forgiveness, because it's a whole lot easier to be grateful when you're present. Same thing goes when it comes to forgiveness, because to make it clearer, when I say presence, what I'm trying to imply is something very real. We as human beings perceive an imaginary timeline in our head, when in reality the only thing that exists is the now, right? Looking around, I see a lot of people who are suffering for something that happened in the past, or they're still holding on to a glorious past, whatever it may be, guilt. Or on the flip side, there are a whole lot of people who are looking into the future. They're worried about their future, or they have very high expectations of their future, so they get frustrated. All of these negative emotions are happening in the now, otherwise you wouldn't be feeling it. But we don't realize it, because this is what's really happening. So being present, logically speaking, would make it a whole lot better. Did I just say a whole lot better? It would make us a lot happier being in the now. So that would be my tip number 3. Moving on to tip number 4. Tip number 4. Passionate indulgence and love. This is pretty obvious. Whenever you decide to do something, unless you are doing it with a passion, you shouldn't be doing it. You should be trying to find an alternative. And if you are forced to be in that situation where you have no other choice, just by merit of not having another choice, this being your only choice should evoke a sense of passion in you. And it might be your financial circumstances, it might be a relationship you're trying to hold on to for the sake of others. Whatever be it, make that real motive your passion, right? This boils down to your hobbies, it boils down to your arts, it boils down to things that you want to learn, things that you want to do. Do not compare yourself to others. That is something a lot of people get into along the way, me myself included, because I've never made a YouTube video before, so it's bound to happen. I'm going to probably consider flaking out at some point. But if you really come to that point of being passionately involved, it feels a whole lot better in the process. I was, for instance, fairly uncomfortable with this whole setup where I had to figure out how to use the camera. Never produced anything before, never used that camera, literally got it out of the box, stuck up a few lights, found a nice place to chill, had to think about the points. But that's how you learn and grow, and growth feels good. Staying stagnant is the worst place to be. I've been depressed, I've been at moments a complete mess, and every one of those times it was as simple as me not growing and me not being genuinely passionate about something, or not having a life purpose to which I was drawn with such fiery magnetism. I'm fishing for words here. The other thing is love. Now, love is twofold. One is when you are passionate about what you're doing, not only are you spreading love and value all around you, you intrinsically are loving yourself, because you are important enough to yourself to not be doing something that you do not want to be doing. You are not putting yourself in situations that you would not like to be in, which is not to say that it is not going to happen, but the quicker you can catch it, the quicker you can acknowledge it, the better you will feel. Love will also be certain physical acts, like giving back to people in whatever way it is. If you feel somebody is upset, and you have the time and you feel their state would be elevated by merely your exchange, a communication with them, why not, right? And don't you feel better afterwards if they feel marginally better? There are exceptions to this. You do not want to be enabling anybody and allowing them to be in a negative state just because they choose to be in a negative state. You could go to an animal shelter, you could go to the hospital, you could go to the prisons and help out there with people who are unjustly in there, right? Whatever it is, you could go. If you want to tie your passion in with love, you could have a passion for traveling. You might travel. A lot of people apparently do it. I would like to at some point. They go to these far off places and build schools, or get relief aid over there for them, or medicines, or whatever it may be, right? So just talking about it, try it for yourself. Just talking about it makes you feel so much better. So that would be my tip number 4: passionate indulgence and love. On to tip number 5. Okay, I need to learn how to keep calm. Tip number 5: de-stressing. This is probably that one tip that is most related to the physical aspect of your being, and it also, in a sense, improves and takes away all the stress that's built up from all those negative emotions I mentioned earlier in the start of the video, in the intro. This is pretty basic stuff. It just means you go out there and you do things that help you de-stress. For some people it might be going to the gym or listening to music. For others, going for a walk or a hike, picking up some sort of martial art because it allows you a release. Maybe you're going through something where you need that release. Anything of that sort. Meditation is another popular de-stressing technique. Treating yourself to a meal. Another great way of de-stressing would be to think beforehand and come to a conclusion on certain decisions that you might have to make, instead of waiting for the last minute in terms of what you would say or what you would do. If you foresee a certain thing happening and it's going to stress you out, cause anxiety, try to think beforehand, come to a conclusion in terms of if it went down path A, path B, path C, the most obvious parts, how would you react, right? That would reduce a lot of your stress and anxiety. Another thing you could do in terms of decision making is not mulling over the trivial decisions, like what you plan on eating or what you plan on wearing if it's just a casual day out. Or I don't know how well that would work for most people, but yeah, that would, I believe, help. For me personally, I've never had that issue. I've never had to really contemplate over where we were going to eat or what movie we were going to watch. Just let it flow, right? That is de-stressing. And the last point, the sixth point, would have to be learning and expanding your knowledge. Now, this is very simple and it goes back to the point of growth. As long as you're growing, you will feel good about yourself, regardless of how gradual the growth. As long as there is consistent growth and you're able to track your growth, you will feel great about yourself, because most people aren't really able to do that. They tend to stagnate or plateau at a certain point. And with regards to learning and expanding your knowledge, I'm speaking mostly about in terms of your career and what you would like to do as your craft for a considerably long period of time. Because the better you get at it, it also not only improves your sense of self-worthiness and diminishes your insecurity, it allows you a sense of value and growth and allows you to give back to other people in a more wholesome way. That comes back to the whole love aspect of it, right? So those are my 6 tips that I personally try to practice, though I fail, though I'm not consistent, though I'm not perfect. And those are my confessions that I told you all about in the beginning of the video. And the reasons for starting this channel, honestly, they are multifold. For one, it would, I believe, allow me to get out of my comfort zone, try something new. Also, I've got a lot of thoughts in my head, so this would be a release for me to get them out. I would also get to learn from y'all. So the feedback that y'all give me, your tips, your opinions, your thoughts are all more material for me to digest, right? So thank you. Feel free to leave comments. Do bear in mind, I have never made a YouTube video before, so go easy on me in terms of the editing and blah blah blah, which I have not yet figured out. I might have to put this video in 2 parts, which in retrospect now is stupid, because y'all would come to know about it only in the 2nd part. So oops, if that happens, I've learned my lesson. Thank you.